Hey y'all, what's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome to this next live of Level Up Legends, how to land an SRE role. I want to see what we got in the building. Put the LUs in the chat if you can hear us, hear me. If you can see as well, if we crisp, we clean. Put the LUs in the chat right now. If you're ready for some value and speaking to one of our Level Up Legends, this gentleman just powered through the program, came out, and next thing you know, he just landed a role. It's like, I'm out of here. Moved from state to state. And that man has changed his life and just working with an incredible organization that, just changing his life. And the church is really reaching out, changing lives of others in the community as well. So without further ado, I want y'all to put the THs in the chat for our Level Up Legend, SRE, Site Reliability Engineer, Tait Hoglund. What's up, Tait? How are you, man?
Hey, I'm doing well, Broadus. So good to be with you. Thanks for the invite.
Hey, I appreciate you, man. It's an honor to have you. You're one of many guests who just came through the program Focus, and your story is unique, just like others. And we want to just show people that anyone can do this if they have focus, commitment, dedication, faith, right? Some prayer definitely works in situations because everyone, a life is different and you will be tested personally, right? So we want to just give them the gems and tell them about your story. And I'm going to be asking you some questions that really just have people that's just like you tuned in and focused and ready to go. So if y'all ready, I ain't see the THs in the chat. Hold on now. I said TH in the chat and I didn't see it. We ain't starting until we see the TH in the chat. Let me see that. Y'all put the LUs, put the TH now. Come on, show Tait some love. You know how we do this here. Put those THs in the chat. All right. So, hey, look, I'm going to fire off the first question for you, big dog. Hold on. What you drinking, man? What you got over there? Cranberry juice? What's that?
Nah, this is my go-to. It's an Arnie Palmer, so it's iced tea and lemonade.
Oh, man, that looks good. That, golly, he got the jar out, y'all. Y'all know that man in Oklahoma right now. Good Lord. So, look, first question for you right now, man. What motivated you to join the program, and how did you first hear about Level Up in Tech?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, two parts. How I found out about the program was there was a colleague that I had connected with who was in a similar role at a different organization who had gone through the program. And so I had kind of seen and followed her journey through the Level Up in Tech process on LinkedIn. And she actually came out and had landed a technical role through that. And so that's where I had heard about Level Up in Tech through someone else that went through the program. And what motivated me to make a change was about a year ago. I was sensing I wanted to shift away from previously. I was like an operations director at a camp and was sensing that I wanted to do something different. And through that discernment process, I had seen a lot of people successfully transition into tech roles. And I think that connection to someone else who was in Lewitt who went through that process and being able to see her go through that process and have success is ultimately what gave me the confidence to know that, hey, if she can do it, maybe I can do it. And that's when I joined Level Up in Tech last fall in November with the Red cohort.
Nice, man. This is exactly what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to set the tone, just like the tone was set for you, seeing that person do it and just spark the belief that you can actually do it. We want other people to see that as well. So y'all looking at somebody's living proof of working hard through the program. We have a few of them that's in the chat right now that's worked hard through the program and really changed their lives and got into a different situation in tech where it's only up from now, man, up from here, it can only get bigger and better, more opportunities, to prove yourself, to solve problems and to make better and better salary as well. Greater salary, I should say. So what was your background? Tell us a little bit more about the background before you joined. I know you said operations and camp. What does that consist of?
Yeah, so in camping as an operations director, you kind of become a jack of all trades and a master of some. And so I had background in staff development, program development, marketing, HR. Basically, in camp world, is you wear whatever hat the camp needs you to wear, because most camps aren't super specialized and don't have large staffs. And so one of those hats that I found myself wearing was in the tech space. As a project manager. So there would be a number of times where, say, our website wanted to go through a redesign, a front end redesign. We didn't have the in-house technical support to accomplish that. And so because I had some project management experience, I said, hey, I'll volunteer to lead that project. And so throughout my career, basically my whole background is in nonprofit operations. And so throughout my career at all three of my previous jobs, I was found myself in position of either being kind of a help desk person, or at my previous organization, they had the stereotypical church server in the basement in a utility room that flooded, kid you not. And so they decided, hey, let's make the young kid figure out a way to make sure that doesn't happen again. And so I actually conducted my first cloud migration in, probably about 8 years ago. And I just had to find out how to do it on my own. And so as I explored more really what I wanted out of my next career move, I always had a very strong affinity for tech, very interest in that. And I've had a chance peripherally to be involved, but Level Up gave me the opportunity to really dive in head first into a DevOps cloud engineering boot camp. And so I really, and as I went through, I'll touch on this too, as someone from a non-technical background, throughout the course or throughout the modules, I was consistently hit with imposter syndrome. Like, what are you doing? You're not smart enough. You don't come from a technical background. And consistently, as I moved through the program, as I was kind of met with that, kind of imposter syndrome, I was able to work through that. The benefit of working through that is, as I worked through it, I was able to now look back, kind of in my current role now, I'm kind of in Lewitt all over again. I'm learning a new tech stack. I'm learning new observability tools, because the organization uses different tools than I used. And so I've had the opportunity to kind of learn to fight that imposter syndrome, because now I can look back and be like, hey, look at the 37 projects that I've already done, that I had to figure out on my own, that I had to read documentation, that I had to test and deploy on my own. And that kind of gives me the confidence to kind of move forward now.
Yeah, because imposter syndrome never goes away, y'all. It just gets easier to fight because of your experience. All right. So for those of you who are just looking at it now, it's like, I can't do this. If those of you are just looking at it now and saying, I would never be able to be or become this, imposter syndrome is a lie. So it makes you feel a certain way, but you have to do it scared anyway. And when you do it scared, you're going to realize you already had the tools and capability to do this anyway before. Just imposter syndrome makes you just want to quit and give you that anxiety and fear of the unknown, because you're like, if I'm being hit like this, imagine if I get in a role and I just mess up everything and I just take out the whole company because I deployed something wrong. I promise you, it's not going to happen the way you think it's going to happen. What you actually are going to do is you're going to continue to work even scared. You're going to build your confidence. You're going to get prepared. And when you get into a role, this thing is going to come back again and say, see, now you got a job and now you better be on par, because they're going to fire you quickly if you don't know what you're doing, and you don't know what you're doing. All a lie. Continue to be curious. Continue to be passionate. Continue to ask questions. Continue to say, hey, push yourself and say, hey, I'll take on that project. That's what they want you to do. You will never learn in your comfort zone. You will never learn in your bubble. You just have to break out of that and just say, hey, I'm going to do it scared regardless, and you will find yourself being successful. Now, I know you talked about imposter syndrome. I want to ask you this, if you can answer. What other challenges did you face before joining Lewitt, and how were you able to overcome them while you're in the program?
Yeah, so my previous role was very demanding. And by demanding, I mean I would average about 60 hours a week, and 24/7 on call, through long periods of time. Actually, because I'm a camp director, or was a camp director, I specifically chose to join Loot when I did, because if I had to do the program through the summertime, just with my job, it's, you know, there are periods where 6 days out of the week I was on call 24/7. But that was a real thing I had to overcome, where, you know, I was putting in, you know, some weeks 50, 60 hours a week, just at my 9 to 5 or 9 to, you know, whatever, 9 to 9, whatever it was for that particular day. And because my hours were inconsistent, that was a real challenge for me to kind of figure out, okay, when am I going to make this happen? But I would say one thing that was really helpful for me was I'm married, and this was a decision that with my wife, I said, hey, I really want to pursue this. I know it's going to be hard. I know it's going to demand a lot of my time and attention, but I think it gets us to where I want to be and where I think our family can be in this next stage of my career. So, and it was 6 months, you know, at the time it was 6 months. And so that was one of the challenging things was, you know, when I wasn't working, I had to commit to, hey, no, I've got to get through my Linux module. Hey, I'm studying for my AWS certification. Hey, I'm studying for my Terraform certification. So I had to kind of temporarily put a lot of things aside to pursue really the goals that I had for myself. But the structure of Level Up in Tech for me worked really, really well. It was laid out very, very well and well organized. So I never had a question of what the process was once I understood it. It was just, hey, am I committed to do the work? Am I committed to put in the time and energy required to change my life and change my outcome for my career trajectory? But that was definitely one of the hardest ones. Broadus, I still remember phrase that you used before I joined the program throughout, and even right now, was to remember your why. So why, and frequently for me, my why was a better work-life balance for me, so I could be more present with my family. I've got 3 young kids at home, and I just felt like I was giving too much of my emotional self to my primary job and not being a present and a father and husband at home. And so that why mattered immensely for making my move into Level Up in Tech, persevering through it. And even right now in my new SRE role, again, I'm learning a lot right now. And imposter syndrome can be defeated, but it doesn't go away. There's still moments where I say like, oh man, they're in GCP. You know, you don't know GCP. You know, you only know AWS. You're never going to figure this out. It's like, well, no, that's not true. You know, and so you're going to have to continually fight that. But the more you make your decision to be goal oriented, at least in my experience, the more success you will encounter, and the more success you encounter, you're able to kind of look back and be like, no, these are lies. I can be successful. I can learn it. See, I got this certification, then I got this certification, or I've done this hands-on project. So those have been huge helps for me in why I decided to pursue Level Up in Tech and this career pivot with Level Up in Tech.
Man, that's an awesome story, because you know why? I'm pretty sure a lot of people right now that's listening, you all have the same challenges. If you have the same challenges that Tait just said he had, go ahead and put yes in the chat. I want to see this, because a lot of you are challenged with your time at work. You're challenged with time with family. And some of you are working longer hours than 9 to 5. And you're just like, how am I going to do this? Right. And not even that, right? It's all about with Tait, he believed what he expected, his expectations. He believed in his expectations. He wanted to focus on landing a cloud role. He had all these challenges in front of him, right? But yet he still believed in what he was able to achieve. He's seen it before he even started. And he said, you know what? I know I have these challenges. I know I'm working long hours, and I know I may be sacrificing time with family, but I know I need to do this in order to get this back, right? in order to get my time with my family back, in order to have more flexibility in my work schedule and have a better work-life balance, I need to do this particular thing. And one thing I'm going to tell y'all that I just told the new cohort that started is motivation. You start off, motivation is high. You're like, oh yeah, I'm ready to crush it. But motivation is temporary. And what needs to happen is you need to come to do the work, regardless if you're in a program or you're doing self-study or whatever it is. You just need to do it because it needs to be done. That's really it. Tait probably got off at 9 o'clock some nights, but he knew this thing that I'm trying to accomplish, this module that I need to do is a step to accomplishing it. And that needs to be done. Coaching call needs to be attended. The project needs to be done. All right. So I was looking at a quote from Colorado Buffalo. We just talking about the Colorado Buffaloes. I was looking at one of the coaches talking to the camp in Colorado Buffaloes football camp. And he said, do you know why people don't reach or exceed their expectations? Because they truly don't believe what they said they expect. And the reason why they don't believe it is because their preparation hadn't been what it needed to be. So think about this. We all say we want it. We all say, I want a better life. I want to get into tech. I'm going to do the work. But do you actually believe it? Do you actually want this to happen, regardless of what situation is going on in your life? Do you actually say to yourself, regardless of what I'm doing today, this just needs to be done because I know once I do this, I'm going to be successful. Things are going to come into your life that are personal. The enemy is going to try to attack you. And this is what I always say too. And I don't know if y'all believe it like I am, but when God says you can have something, the enemy always come and try to get in your way from getting it. So if God put the dream in your heart, he gave you the tools and resources to be successful. And when that dream comes and when you see it, it's always going to be the enemy that try to move things around in your life that's personal to you, that's going to have to be a priority for you to take care of at that time. Oh man, somebody's sick in my family. Oh man, I'm falling behind on my bills. Oh man, whatever the case may be, is trying to take you off the track of being successful in another area that's going to take you to another trajectory in your life or change the trajectory of your life. All right. So I didn't want to start preaching, y'all, but I wanted y'all to get the message about what Tait just said and how he was saying it. And what I got from it was, regardless of his circumstances and what life put in front of him, what his working hours were, right? How stressful the day was, he did what he had to do because it was supposed to be done in order to reach success. He didn't cut corners, period. All right. So with that being said, right, let's talk about you landing a role as a site reliability engineer. Can you share a bit about your process and how you aced the interview and how you landed your new role?
Yeah, absolutely. So this role kind of started with, I was actually approached by a LinkedIn recruiter for a different role with a different organization that was working with a faith-based organization. And they were seeing some of my projects and posts from Lewitt, and they asked if I would interview for a DevOps engineer role. Well, that role didn't end up working out. However, that's kind of when it got my gears turning, because I assumed as a cloud engineer, I would only, I'd work in non-faith-based organizations, secular roles. Mm-hmm. So that's when but all of my background was in faith-based organizations. So after that process didn't work out, I said, I wonder if there are faith-based organizations that hire cloud engineers. And so I found myself on the career page of Life Church and saw that they were hiring an SRE role. I read through the job description and qualifications and said, well, I meet most of that, which is one thing also that I learned from Level Up in Tech is that a job description is also a wish list. And so sometimes when you go through a job description, you say, I don't meet all the job requirements, I better not apply. If you can meet a good chunk of them, you should apply anyway, because I did not meet all of the qualifications, but I applied anyway. And so I had a pretty lengthy process. Part of that was just because of vacation schedules and just not, and because my hours were pretty crazy. Ramping up into the summertime, I couldn't always, I didn't work through the interview process as fast as I wanted. But it started with a phone screen. It moved into a technical. The technical interview I had to do on my own. It had questions about networking. There were a lot of networking related questions on there. So if you are looking to be an SRE role, you should know networking pretty well. Not saying I was an expert by any means, but they did ask me a lot about subnetting and routing. They also asked me some Terraform questions, which wasn't on the job description. They did ask me some baseline Kubernetes questions, but all in all, it was really high level. It wasn't like a leak code exercise. I had to do a couple Terraform problems that I had to work through. But did that on my own time. I was allowed to consult documentation as well for that. So it's not like I had to do it live on a screen from memory or anything like that. I've heard some people have had some very challenging technical interviews, but I passed that and then went on to the hiring manager. And then they actually flew me out to Oklahoma City because I relocated for this role. And so they flew me out and did a final on-site interview, to which they offered me the job off of that. So I would say some of the key things specifically from Lewitt that I learned. Again, if you're looking for an SRE role, at least the one I did, is you have to have a pretty strong understanding of fundamental networking concepts. And so I would say if you can, as you're learning, not just learn the figuring out the why certain things exist in networking and how things function from a problem solving perspective, that will help you a lot in terms of interviewing for an SRE role. So also having some development experience. And again, I didn't have a ton of development experience. Just the only experience really I had was the Python module that we went through with Level Up in Tech with some Python scripts. And other than that, I'm doing a lot of on-the-job learning. The onboarding for my role is a 90-day onboarding plan where I am just learning our production environment, learning our tools, learning our observability platform. And because they know I am coming from, again, they're a GCP. They use GCP, and I came from, my Lewitt experience was AWS. They understand that there's a lot of learning that I need to do in my before I get up to speed and start touching production things.
Hey, but that's awesome, right? Because what that says to me and what I say to other people is, and what people come into the program, and I think it's another, I'm not going to say a form of imposter syndrome, but a form of roadblock that people face is they feel they have to be an expert in everything before they move on to the next. And I'm here to say you don't have to be an expert in anything. Most of the time you get that on the job experience. That's where the experience comes from, right? Just pushing yourself and being the first one to say, hey, I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to learn. If you're willing to learn, you'll grow in a year tremendously than somebody that's been 4 years there already, because you're already coming in with a passion and a habit that you've created over the last 24 weeks of learning, banging your head against the wall, solving problems. And now you're just taking that into an organization to show your passion for doing the same thing. And I will say, Tait, if you need help with any GCP, I'm well versed in GCP. Just ask me questions. That's what I do. So, but all of y'all out there right now thinking, I have to know this inside and out before I move to the next. You do not, because sometimes you don't learn other things until you learn new things. And then you're like, oh, that's why blah, 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 a couple of weeks ago. So just continue to absorb, understand the impact of what you're learning, get your hands-on experience, whether you're in a program, whether you're doing self-study, whether you got a mentor, get that hands-on experience. So if you're being asked a question, if you've done it before, you could just literally replay what you've done in your head and what you document. That's important to document, right? Because that gets you in the habit of documenting when you're on the job. If somebody comes behind you, they know exactly what you've done. And if they face the same problem, you already said, hey, this is the problem I faced. This is how I got around it. This is absolutely wonderful, especially for a new person that's transitioning into a role, because you'll find a lot of companies don't have this. They don't have proper documentation, right? And what Tait is doing is he's learning a completely new cloud service provider that, they're giving him the time to push himself to learn. So you'll get that on the job experience, and you'll get support too. Hopefully you'll get with an organization that's going to support you, give you a mentor to help you grow, and just push yourself. That's all you have to do, is continue to push yourself. Now, I'm gonna ask you this last question, and I know you told us some things, but what do you think is the most important part of your success to help you land a role?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great question. I think it's a combination. I would say a combination of things. I would say, number one, you got to know that you want it. I mean, if this is something you really want, and I know for me as someone who transitioned into a tech role, I knew I wanted it. And because I knew I wanted it, I was going to put the work in no matter what. I was going to be successful no matter what. And I knew that some days that meant, from a learning perspective, that I didn't go to bed till after midnight because I was trying to get my Terraform apply to work, and I couldn't get it to work. Some days that meant, hey, I couldn't solve the problem tonight. I'm going to go to bed and then tackle it first thing in the morning or whatever. So I would say, I think you have to have the right mindset of know that you want to change your life, know that you want to get into tech, and just commit to it. It doesn't mean that, again, you're not going to feel incompetent. It's not going to mean that you're not going to feel self-doubt. But if you commit to the right kind of mindset, then you can be successful. Again, if a former camp operations director with no, technical experience can do it, you can do it too. I promise you that. The other thing I think that makes you extremely helpful, especially if you're someone that comes from a background where a leadership background where you've had to employ soft skills at all, or been in a leadership position as a manager, man, if you can pair the technical hard skills, which you will learn through Lewitt, 100%, you will learn it through Lewitt. If you can pair those hard skills with the soft skills that made you a great leader, manager, soft skills, whatever it is, that's like the peanut butter jelly of being the perfect ideal candidate that is going to attract, because you will run into people that are maybe brilliantly technically, but they don't know how to communicate very well. And from an employer standpoint, that is extremely valuable. Not only if you know the tech, but you have those soft skills. And as someone who came in with more soft skills than hard technical skills, sometimes you can say, oh, that's not as important, but actually that makes you very attractive as a candidate. So I think you got to go in with the right mindset. If you go in with the right mindset, anyone can do this. Doesn't mean it's not going to be hard. Doesn't mean that you're not going to have to find the right community around you. I think that's the other thing that I really appreciated about Lewitt is the way we did it with the cohort base. Is you're on a team of people that you can jump on a Teams chat and say, hey, I'm struggling with this, or I'm feeling that. And I can't tell you how many times my cohort members, when I didn't want to put in the work or I was struggling, I found encouragement through them. So I think that's another unique thing about this program that I really thrived in.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. Your story is amazing, because regardless of what, you just had the right mindset, like you just said. That's what everyone needs. You need to make your mind up. You made your mind up before you even joined that regardless of what happened, you was going to be successful. That's the mindset that everyone needs. You can't come in here, or even you can't even transition to tech with I don't know if I can. I mean, I'm going to try to learn something and see. That is not going to work for you. If you have that mindset right now, this is not for you. But if you have the mindset that you're hungry, you're passionate, you want to change your life, right? You've been doing something that, you know, you may not like anymore. It's not really financially helping you and your family anymore. And you want to expedite your position to push through and move into the technical industry where you can make great money. You got to have that mindset first. You got to be willing to dominate. You got to be willing to put in the extra hours to say, you know what? I just don't want to be just good. I want to dominate. I want to, when I get into a role, I want them to see me as something that they invested in, that they are super proud that they invested in. And that's what's going to happen. You'll be successful from that mindset alone, regardless if it takes you 6 months, 9 months, even a year. Think about, even if it took you a year, let's just think about this. From the average pay bump of pretty much doubling most folks' salaries that get into tech, do you think you'll be able to double your salary at the job you are now or within now in the next year? Most likely not. Most likely you probably get 5%, maybe 10%. You may get a good bonus, but doubling your salary and making that salary from now on as the start of your career in tech, you won't get that in the job that you're working in now. All right. So Tait, so Mel, first of all, I don't know if we have Tait's LinkedIn URL. Can we put it up? I was going to ask you, where can we find you? Hey, everyone, type in this URL, connect with Tait right now. You got any questions? If you're feeling imposter syndrome, ask Tait how he worked through it. I'm pretty sure he's more than happy to chat with you about his experience just transitioning, right? We're not even just talking about level up a tech here. We're talking about just transitioning and his mindset alone, okay? Make sure you type down that URL, put it in the URL right now, type it, connect request, and Tait will accept, all right? Now, for those of you that's looking and listening, some of you in roles right now that you just hate and you've been there for years. Some of you have issues in life where you maybe living check to check and you always wanted to get into an industry that can help you financially. Some of you just want a career that can just challenge you and push you to the next level mentally and just help you grow into something you always wanted to be. Here's what we can do, because I was just like y'all, right? I had no background in tech. I didn't even know that I could be successful in tech. I knew there was a tech industry, but I was a banker, and nothing wrong with it, but my only expectations was if I could just become manager, branch manager, I'll be fine for the rest of my life. And then I heard about this cloud computing thing that was going on, and I realized the opportunities that people were being afforded. And I was like, this is exactly what I want. And I came through and I was able to land a role following a process that I created. And from that, my team has curated and duplicated and improved this process to help other people do the same thing. And if this is a process that you want, go ahead and put level up in the chat right now. And we're going to offer you a special rate to join our October cohort. If Mel put it up, Mel's like, man, come on, man. Comment level up right now. We want to talk to y'all. We want to tell you about the process that we are implementing to help other people like Tait with the right mindset come in and push through and level up their life. We're only looking for people that has that mindset. You made it your mind already. It says, I want to do this. We're not in the business of convincing you. We're in the business of saying, this is what you want to do. This is how we can help you. If that's what you want, put level up in the chat right now. We'll get with you ASAP. And I want to thank you so much, Tait, for joining us, man. Like, it's been a pleasure, bro. I wanted you to share your story, and I appreciate you so much, bro. Seriously.
Hey, it's been a pleasure. And hey, thanks for having me on. And anytime, this program, man, it changed my life. It changed people's lives other people I knew who went through the program. And so if I can help the next one, I'm happy to do it.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I want to give a shout out to Mel. Mel, come on up, Mel. Mel runs everything in our background. Say what's up, Mel. Put the Mel in the chat. She holds everything down. Everything you see right now, she just holds it down for our live shows. And I appreciate her so much. Thank you so much, Mel. And I thank y'all for joining us on this Level Up Legends, How to Land an SRE role. My name is Broadus. That's Tait Hoglund. We're out of here. Thank you so much. See y'all.